All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Wedding Film School Show. My name is Jared Haskell, again with Jason McCutcheon, my business partner, friend, guitarist, musician.
Incredible wedding filmmaker.
Incredible wedding filmmaker, video game guru, person.
Video game person.
Yeah.
My daughter the other day, she made a level. She says, I made a level that only experts could beat in Mario Maker 2.
A Mario Maker.
And I was like, I can't beat this. She's like, Dad, you're an expert. I'm like, I am not an expert at Mario. But thank you for thinking that about me.
Yeah, well, obviously, your dad, so you're
she's
the
like,
best at
she
everything.
goes, she's like, but you beat everything, Dad.
Yeah.
I was like, the kids games, but you ever see people who are good at Mario?
Oh, dude, crazy.
Anyway.
Like, you have to have a little bit of your brain broken to be good at, really good at Mario.
Like, those people are just animals.
Yeah, absolutely. So we are talking about a great topic today, per usual, but actually one that I'm pretty excited about because the first episode that we did of it got so much traction, and we had a lot of people with this episode, the original episode, reach out to us that were not wedding filmmakers.
Yeah, PR people.
A lot of PR people.
I was
a lot of photographers reaching out.
I was surprised at the feedback I got because I think the episode, I don't think I exactly expressed myself exactly correctly.
Yeah.
And it came across a little more curmudgeon-y than I actually feel about publications. But I think they were like, I was surprised. I say that to say I was surprised that the feedback was like, yeah, that was true.
Well, I mean, I think you and I are kind of professional, like, shit talkers. So, it probably came across that way, but it's why we're excited to have an episode 2 today of How Wedding Blogs and Publications Screw Wedding Filmmakers, part 2.
Yes, the 2025 edition.
2025 edition. I think we're going to revert to our classic approach on any kind of take that we have, which is backslide to have the opposite perspective to a certain extent. And, 2 steps forward, 1 step back.
You know what it is I think people misunderstand it as that. The way I like to deal with any topic is like, I want to expose the whole topic, the good and the bad, grapple with all of it, and then figure out what is like worth my time.
Exactly.
It's not that I don't care if there's a such thing as wedding magazines at all. Don't care about it. I don't have any feelings on this. All I know is that this is a part of the industry I'm in and that I'm not getting the same advantages that other people are out of it. And so first, I think it's important to analyze that and evaluate that and be honest about that and start exploring why. And then hopefully what we're able to do in this episode is talk about what are we going to do about it?
Yeah.
How do we make a positive impact in that part of the industry? How do we make ourselves more useful as filmmakers? What are some opportunities? We might be just guessing some stuff here, being idealistic, who knows? But at the end of the day, it's like, how can we move forward?
Right. And as I went back and I listened to the first episode, I understand wedding filmmakers' sentiment of like being frustrated with this thing of not having those advantages that you mentioned. And that's honestly the first reaction anyone will have is like, what the heck, man? Like, this is done a certain way and it disadvantages me and nobody cares. Everyone's just going to treat me like crap. Like the usual, wedding filmmaker sentiment towards probably the rest of the industry. But we didn't really have an answer to what the response should be. Or
Definitely not in that episode.
Or what publications should be doing.
Yes.
And so as we've had a little bit of time to maybe grapple with like that and maybe have some better conversations with people that are, in that part of the industry.
Yep. I've talked to 2 people that are very reputable PR people about that episode and just about their thoughts. And, I got additional information, all that good stuff.
Yep. And so we wanted to do another one to continue the conversation and refine that part of the process because, like it or not, one, things are always changing.
Mm-hmm.
So where are they today as opposed to where they were 5-6 months ago when we recorded that episode? But then also we as wedding filmmakers are being used in different ways. And I say used, I don't mean
I think
like
in both
a negative
ways,
way.
the good
Maybe
and the bad way.
in the good and the bad way. And I think the wedding filmmaker probably is a person that can decide how they are being used, whether in a good or a bad way, by just creating good and bad rules for themselves. So,
well, yeah, ultimately, hopefully we're going to help you figure out some path forward for yourself today. And who knows, maybe we'll just propose some ideas that people will adopt. But before we do that, I wanted to give you guys just a little insight on today's sponsor, Second Society, which is a great service that we use where you can hire amazing second shooters for photo and video. So if you're looking for awesome gigs, head over there. You can sign up, become a member. And it's a great opportunity to expand your portfolio, a great opportunity for you if you have gigs to get awesome associates, build that dream team out, and have things even be more consistent. And I think the big thing is, can we create standardization? Like, do we have a way of knowing this guy is good? And I think Second Society really is a great cog in helping our industry be more stable and more predictable for the clients and the filmmakers. So head over to secondsociety.io, sign up today, and you will get a cool perk if you use WFS3 for 3 free months of the VIP membership to Second Society. We love it. Check it out.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned it, but we actually use Second Society. It's something we actually did a few times last year.
Yeah.
And it was great because
It
we
was-
had a lot of demand on certain dates, and it was like, our usual people are booked up or whatever. The people
I
that
could
we
see
usually
people
bring
using
on,
it every wedding if they wanted.
Yeah.
It's
It's that good.
it's
that
only
good.
going to be better the more people get sign up to actually be shooters
Yep,
too. So,
Yep. If I don't have to bring people from New York and Pennsylvania, if I have people in my Boston area. So that's the other thing is get your friends to join too, because if they're on Second Society in your local area, you won't have to pay an extra $500 to just bring someone
well,
up
and it's
from
owned by
another part of
people
the country.
who love the industry, who are deeply involved in the
Yep.
industry, and so they care about filmmakers.
Yes.
And it's not just owned by some big corp company that doesn't know anything or care about you guys.
Right on. So let's talk about publications, right?
Yes.
The first thing I want to do is qualify publications.
yeah.
right?
What are we talking about here?
Because I think, if you're just a normal wedding filmmaker, maybe you're new to the industry. I don't know if you would really know what that means. Maybe you have one publication you're thinking about or whatever, but there are a lot of different things out there, a lot of different ideas that people have come up with, a lot of tech people that have come out with sites, and they all kind of like accomplish something different. I would say you have like your Elle magazine, your Vogue magazine,
Yeah.
your People magazine, that are kind of those like classic publications, right? That are kind of hinged on celebrity, right?
Yeah, like they kind of like I think like they're the tip of the spear in terms of like what is weddings in culture
Mhm.
is like magazines that are celebrity focused, maybe design focused, trend focused towards design, and weddings are part of it, but they're not wedding magazines. They're
Right.
not wedding things. And by publications, we're not just saying magazines, by the way. We mean like magazines, blogs.
Well, I would even categorize blogs as like the Salome Pretties of the world, like Over the Moon. That's like a little bit different, right?
Well, it is different, but I think it's part of the same machine.
Part of the same machine.
If you're doing
different
PR,
goals.
you're gonna be like wanting publications and blogs. Many of the people who have publications also have blogs, and of course, there's social.
Right.
Right. So it's like wedding PR is really what we're talking about. It's
Yeah.
like how do you talk to the public? And the public's first engagement with the wedding industry is not through wedding content. Wedding content,
Well, I would say the Style Me Pretty is wedding content.
I know, but it's not the public's first interaction with weddings. So that's like I'm getting most of the time someone is heading to Style Me Pretty because they're already engaged.
Right. But with Elle magazine, it's on the rack.
It's on the rack.
It's a part of their everyday vocabulary. Like everyone knows, because there's an element to all those magazines that is not wedding related.
Yes.
When it comes to Style Me Pretty, when it comes to Over the Moon, it gets into, maybe Over the Moon would be mad at me for saying this, but like it is when you get married and you're looking for marriage.
Yeah, there's
stuff.
probably like
more like a Pinterest board.
people who
right?
enjoy wedding porn, like will probably like it even before they're married. There is a percentage of people, mostly women, who are consuming wedding content when they aren't even about to get married.
Yep.
But I do think most people, like if you walk by like a special episode of like a special magazine of People magazine, and it's like whoever Kim Kardashian marries next, like, the wedding of Kim Kardashian and like Tiger Woods,
Mhm.
You see this magazine, it's a full spread about the wedding, and it's not a wedding magazine,
Mhm.
but because they are so prominent with normies, and it's almost like you buy that magazine, you're not interested in weddings, you're interested in Kim Kardashian,
Yes.
right? But it's a very important cog. to how the industry works,
It's
because
the gateway drug into weddings.
like I just saw Mindy
Yeah.
Weiss. She was on Khloe Kardashian's podcast last week.
Oh, really? I didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like these people, like there are people who are, they've transcended the wedding industry, and they're like planners who are just hanging out with celebrities or politicians.
Mhm.
They're kind of like extra beyond the industry, and they're doing
Which
their
is
own-
awesome.
Yeah.
I love that. I
We
love
need,
that.
we need more of that.
I love that weddings are becoming so mainstream that they are celebrated in that way. I think it's
Yes.
actually great for everyone. You know, I don't know if I necessarily believe in like trickle down economics across the board, but in this case, it certainly applies.
Well,
right?
the idea of weddings is definitely the idea of a celebrity wedding, the idea of an opulent big wedding has really started outside of the industry.
Right.
Um,
If people see people spending those multi-million dollar weddings with celebrities, they're going to want a piece of that. They
Mhm.
can't do that, but it's going to
do
trickle
you know
down
what
to your country
Florist
clubs.
told me about the Kardashian Kanye floral wall specifically?
No.
Like I had 3 different conversations with florists who their example of telling their bride no was, you can't have Kim Kardashian's floral wall.
Mhm.
It's like that person took their inspiration from that. They looked at that and decided this is what I should have at my wedding. Now they can't afford it. But anyway, I think the next level is wedding industry specific, like we're talking about. You're talking like the Style Me
The
Pretties,
blogs.
the blogs,
Yep.
Brides Magazine.
Yep.
Which will kind of be celebrity adjacent
Mhm.
a lot. Like they'll do the celebrity thing, but also wedding trends. And then I think the third level is vendor specific PR. Like
Registries.
I mean like the planner collabing with the other vendors
Okay.
to get that reach, and like you're using the industry's individual like vendors branding to talk to the public.
Mhm.
You know, I think it's like all 3.
Well, like Instagram?
Yeah, like whenever you're making your own rain.
Right.
You know, like whether it be even like ads are kind of part of it. If like every single wedding filmmaker was running ads
Mhm.
on Instagram, and all these couples were seeing wedding ads all the time, it would actually be PR.
Yeah.
Because
That's like the most organic thing. Like,
Uh-huh.
and I think in a lot of ways, maybe the most effective thing.
it's what we have. It's the only thing that wedding filmmakers, I think, are doing really well that is working the way it's supposed to for our benefit.
Well, it's like, I feel like all the other magazine publications, it's kind of like quid pro quo-y. It's like, if you spend on getting in front of here, if you spend not just money, spend your time, you put together this whole post, it may or may not be rejected or accepted. It may or may not be used in the way you want. As wedding filmmakers, the video may or may not even be in there. And so you're putting all this time, like when it's social media, there's almost like an immediate
Well,
return
if you think
almost
about
every
like,
single time.
there's 2 incentive structures, right? There's this girl or guy, but probably a girl, publicist or something, trying to get an article about yellow at weddings, the colors of the year.
Right.
Right. She's writing this article. It's about her thing. She's looking for content for that article. And so she's thinking ahead. Wedding filmmakers are thinking they're behind.
Mhm.
So like you're making you could think whatever you want. Like we have a bunch of big weddings this year. I have no idea what they're going to look like. Right? Pretty much. Like there's no way I could submit ahead of time to a magazine, say, I got something great for you. Oh, I saw you were looking for this. I got one like that coming up. And I can get you all this great content for butterflies.
Mhm.
You know, now I might get that butterfly content 3 months after the wedding, but maybe that article was published 6 months ago.
Mhm.
So think about that. Like the article's published where butterflies are the trend. We're downstream of trends.
Yeah.
So like
By a year.
by a year. So
Yeah.
we're shooting the stuff well before or well after the magazine already has moved on.
Yep.
So like every time you're making a submission, you're pretty much, unless you're lucky, if you just happen to shoot a wedding, that is the thing that they want. But in terms of like syncing up on that, there's really no good way for the wedding filmmaker to sync up with the publication. Because like, here's what I know. I tried to do it last year, and I won't say who or what, but there was people I tried to do content drips for from the content we were shooting for their own social and things like that. And like, they didn't even know how to interact with that. Like, and I think the average person in the industry right now is like, say you said like, what can I do for you? Like, I will do anything you want. I will edit infinity videos and give you any content that you want for your blog. They would literally ignore you.
Okay.
Don't you think?
I don't know. I haven't reached out to them to do that kind of stuff
I think they would go,
because I don't have the resources to
Yeah,
be
we
able
do.
to, I'm not told ahead exactly what you just said. I'm not told by the planner
no,
that they're
I'll just give
using
you anything I do.
dahlias or color palettes or whatever.
Like if they said like, hey, filmmakers, we're looking for red weddings.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a red wedding for us, like with like a red dress, please send it our way.
Yeah.
There's no mechanism to create that conversation.
Exactly.
There's nowhere to deliver
So there's
it.
no way that I could even inform them of like, hey, I am doing that, or I have an idea because we're doing this one thing.
Or vice
Get ready
versa.
for
They're
it.
not informing you.
Right.
And so I think this is like the undiscussed like topic is like, how do you overcome the lag in like the different incentive structures that every party has, which one of them is like they need to be ahead of the game. The other one is already behind.
Yeah. Very reactionary and like, oh, we had this thing presented, we did a thing. And then on top of that, it's going to take 4 months of post-production to get it to you.
Yeah. Like
So it's
PR
just-
is all about like,
What happened yesterday?
like, yep, it is ultimately. And I think like marketing is about what they want to sell tomorrow.
Mhm.
And I think magazines are, and like a lot of the tastemakers in the industry, they're trying as much as like they're reacting. I don't believe that. I think a lot of it is they're putting their finger on the scale,
Mhm.
like, or their thumb on the scale, as they say. And like a lot of those people are like, do you remember when like Vera Wang had the dusty pink dresses?
No.
That was like one of their collections one year. It was
Yep.
like a big trend. And like, obviously it's a lot of other people, it goes downstream.
Mhm.
Like if a Vera Wang or, Oscar
Mhm.
or some trend setting designer.
Oscar had a big year last year.
Yeah. I liked what they did last
Yeah,
year.
yeah.
But like the complex patterns and
Mhm.
really beautiful.
Yeah, very
But
popular.
but like then you look and you see like, I don't know, what's that, like some lower tier brand that makes more affordable dresses.
Mhm.
You start to see the trends in those dresses. And it's lagging.
Right.
It's lagging. And it's like,
Well, if I learned anything from Devil Wears Prada, it's that one scene with
oh yeah.
Anne Hathaway in the blue sweater, and she dissects her blue sweater. That's how it works, right?
Mhm.
Same exact thing.
Yep. And it's like, we're just not, I think like if we could complain, it's not really about complaining. It's about knowing why is there the incentive structure not syncing between like the publications, the blogs, the tastemakers, and the people who are making this video content.
Well, and especially because from the top, the publications will be like, "Oh, video is very popular right now, and the videographers will be doing really well," but it's really just a talking point. It doesn't really translate to actually using wedding filmmakers at
Well,
all.
Yeah. And I mean, think about the photos that they use. First of all, one thing a lot of people don't know, which I think anyone listening to this probably knows, but is the magazine, like those highest level print magazines actually are not the best photography. They're like the flash, direct flash, like People magazine look. And
Paparazzi.
it has their own person.
Yeah.
And it's not even like if Corbin Gherkin or, like Jose Villa is covering the wedding, they might not print their photos.
Mhm.
They're gonna give them a credit. But here's the thing about photography. I don't think people look at those photos and say these are good or bad photos. They just go, that's a photo.
Those are people.
That's a people I know. Those are people I know, and that's a photo. And oh, who got invited to that wedding? Oh, Jose Villa. I honestly think most people think if they look at the wedding and they go, who's the photographer, that the cover shot was Jose Villa. And
Yeah.
sometimes it is, and sometimes it isn't.
Yeah.
And so it's like, but either way, Jose Villa picks up the benefit
Mhm.
of being associated with a celebrity wedding with their work.
Yep.
So they look at the photo, they can tangibly create an image of Jose Villa. There's nothing like that for wedding videographers. And obviously with the popularity of the internet Like there is more opportunities for us. And I think that's what we want to be looking at today. But it's like one question that I think we're talking about is like the content that wedding filmmakers are making. What do you think is some of like the reasons why the content that we make is not as useful for PR?
That's video.
Besides that, it's video.
um, well, I think it's because everything is disorganized. I think it's because a lot of PR people, the tradition is that they're using photographers and they don't necessarily even know what to ask of a videographer. Like, hey, we want to do this. And also I would say, and this is part of my critique, and I would turn it right around on us, is like, we don't know how to give them the assets they need to be able to get eyeballs on said content, right? Like when you think about a videographer, you're not thinking about, oh, they're capturing that dress really well in a way that showcases it. Like
they're
you have to be,
they're probably gonna sell a ton of dresses with that wedding video.
us videographers have to be safe when we film, because if we're focusing on the dress the whole time and we're not getting, if I'm focusing more on the dress and less on family members potentially or whatever, then I might get yelled at by my client because, oh, hey, it's beautiful. You got this dress, but like, where are the shots of this? Wedding filmmaking is all about like compromise. And we're not capturing what these magazines, what these blogs, registries, whatever, are looking to promote on their services at the end of the day. But at the same time, are they really asking us to do it?
Well, and I think there's also a side of our content that is too intimate. And I think,
Yes.
like the thing I've always said is, when you look at wedding films like that perform well on social, there's a common theme, which is either it's like viral content, like a baby doing something cute, which is not really
That's
wedding.
like TikTok content.
Yeah, it's not really wedding filmmaking. It's
No.
just like a cool moment, like
A clip.
a viral moment,
Yes.
which is not wedding filmmaking. It's just a
Yes.
viral moment. And then there's like maybe like reels and teasers that are really focused on wedding porn. Just details and beautiful locations and a beautiful dress, a beautiful woman. But I think once you move into the actual art form and the actual thing of value that couples are really paying for, I think we are uniquely wedding filmmakers have a unique challenge, which is we don't have a very good way to show people what we actually do. And if you did, it wouldn't perform well. This is why, and I'll talk about in the last episode, and I always will bang the drum. Remember when everyone's like, video, it's going to be so good for you guys. And then they were like, immediately just skipped us. Like all the magazines, blogs were like, this content goes crap. It doesn't do well. Let's screw these people.
And they went to content creators.
They just literally just went to like cell phone footage.
Yeah.
It wasn't even content creators. It was just like planners and photographers on their phones. And like, there was not even the reason content creators became a thing was because the content from phones did better than a real wedding film.
Mm-hmm.
And so then it created a market.
Yep.
And it's like if you make this personal, intimate wedding film that takes like 2 minutes with a couple to figure out if you're enjoying it, and you have to listen to them and learn their story and actually care about them to actually get the benefit. Or like you make something like we've made where it's so personal and so unique. And if you're not, it's like an inside joke essentially. Like if someone's watching the film, they're not even able to discern what is personal and like where is the high touch bespoke element to the film because it's so personal. We can't show that off very effectively in PR.
Yeah. I mean, and if you're doing celebrity and you shoot this great intimate piece of this famous person marrying another famous person, they don't necessarily want that out in the open. They don't want you to show their love story to the world because it's personal, it's intimate.
It's like the one
Exactly
thing in
what
their
you're
life
saying.
that gets to be private.
Right. And it's sweet and it, encompasses their love. And like maybe they expose themselves a little bit to that, but the content that planners want isn't necessarily that. No one really wants to watch
planners
that. On all the social medias and all the magazines.
I would say
no one
the
wants to see
farther up
that.
the chain you get, the more unlikely it is for that content to pop off.
Yeah, the content
Like-
that does well is your wedding porn.
A planner might like something very personal
Yeah.
because their clientele might be into that.
Yep.
But like, I think a magazine less so, People magazine even less so.
Yeah.
Like I think the farther up, the less useful your stuff is, the less it can travel.
Yeah.
I think the better. But I do think there's opportunities here because they are right. Video is everywhere. And we have a great opportunity as filmmakers to figure this out. We
Mhm.
have to just get over ourselves, I think.
Yeah.
And figure out what can we do? Like, how do we lead
Right.
the charge?
Well, the first step, I think, is on filmmakers to understand that when you do a film, you're not just doing a film anymore.
No.
You are producing multi-tier levels of content for different parties, right?
Mhm.
Can we just, it's 2025.
Content.
We have to produce content, guys.
We have to produce content.
Like, if you're not producing immediate content, what did Julia say at Clarity just a
To
couple
make
weeks ago?
content. She
Right.
literally just said,
What was part of her plan? Because I'm sure it's exactly what we're doing with Huxley
she would be
Films.
like, talk to the photographer, say, what are we doing here? Okay, we're gonna do a release where we say like, okay, we're gonna highlight the island. Like me and Jake and Carrie did a wedding last year, and Carrie said, here's what we're gonna do for this wedding. We're gonna highlight this island. We're gonna make people have this experience of wanting to be there. You know, we're gonna give this wedding a little bit of traction so people can see this experience. And like maybe there was a hotel a little bit involved, so we wanted to do something for the hotel on the island. There are a lot of parties, so we're literally doing marketing and PR for Weddings on Nantucket, using a wedding that we're shooting to highlight this. And so, you know, he has photos of the streets of Nantucket, and I do drone work of all the lighthouses and all the oceans and the sun going down. Day one of a 2-day wedding, we'll release something that night of just can't wait for this wedding today. And that's not exactly what we're talking about, but it's the level of like strategy.
Yeah.
I didn't really do editing. I gave the wedding planner 3 shots.
Yep.
She said, "Hey, can you get me these 3 shots that we will use to promote this?"
And the thing that wedding filmmakers have to get over is that's not necessarily filmmaking. It's shooting content. Maybe it doesn't have any music to it. Maybe you just hear, if you're on Nantucket and you hear the wind and the tall grass rubbing up against it, you know, you're putting someone in
Well,
that.
I didn't even do the edit.
Right.
That's
right.
the thing. I literally just color graded it
Yep.
and sent it to Carrie, and
It's-
Carrie did it.
It's replicating photography with moving image
Yes.
as opposed to say, and there's a certain trend, I think, leaning that direction nowadays that videographers should pay really close attention because that's what people that are really successful are starting to do.
They're probably killing you with simplicity. You're putting all this extra effort in, and it would have been more effective if you just simplified.
Yep. And, you know, I think wedding filmmakers already are like overwhelmed by the amount of things that they have to do. But this is something that I think at the end of the day, it will separate the Joes and Schmoes, you know, it'll make people successful by providing this type of content long term. And I think it works for wedding planners. How can it work for the blog world?
I think what it is you have to understand web design. You have to understand how like web banners work. I don't think blogs have like a bunch of content spots for like just vibe video.
Yeah.
But they should.
GIFs, maybe bring back the GIFs.
Who
you know,
knows what it is?
moving images that are just
like blogs could integrate video in all kinds of ways that were just vibe setting,
Mhm.
that are mood setting, that are just set the mood. Like, you know, you could just when I look at like someone who I think is doing well, like Peyton Frank, like if you look at her work, like I don't know, I don't think I've seen any of her full films, to be honest. So I can't speak towards them. What I know is when I see her stuff that's popping off, it's like location, feeling. But it works. It could just as easily be like a commercial for the hotel as it could be a wedding. So I think like material that is less personal, this is the whole, and this is where maybe we can't do it as an industry. It might be too hard, but maybe not. The material you're making for a couple is almost directly opposed to the material you're making for the internet.
Mhm.
It's like you want the stuff for your couple to be ultra intimate, ultra personal. And what you want for the internet is to be ultra inviting.
Mhm.
You know, and it's like, what can we give our partners that allows them to pull more people into the tent and say, look at weddings. And like we're using wedding video to promote weddings. We're not using video to promote ourselves. And I think that's where it's a little tricky is like, we're usually trying to sell a wedding. This is about selling them on video, selling our partners that you need video to promote what you're doing.
Mhm.
And it's like creating that incentive structure where, but the other thing is, I don't know if this is true. It's not true of us. Do you think a lot of filmmakers are just like pains to work with about this stuff?
Yeah,
Why?
because we're curmudgeoned. We're angry. We're already angry that we have to do way more post production than photographers or whatever the reason is. But the good news is things are hopefully getting easier to be able to do this kind of stuff.
Well, and also,
Everything's
like,
faster
do you
and
want it or not?
you want it or not. Like the people at the top have to be better at the top.
Yep.
Like, and that's just it. And I think if we were easier to work with across the board, because this is an instance that just happened to me. Photographer, really well-known photographer who I get to work with this last summer. I didn't know she was a photographer until I was leading up to the day. I was like, oh shoot, she's awesome. Like really talented. I wish that this couple bought a higher package with us.
Maybe they just couldn't because
no. These people could afford whoever they wanted. But we were there and filmed a really great wedding. She loved working with us. It was me and Victor. And she was like, you are exactly what videographers should be on the wedding day, and liked our approach, right? Produce a film. She loves the film. She would reach out, hey, we're going to be published on Style Me Pretty. Great. Style Me Pretty is a great publication or a great blog. Can you send this, and this? It gets sent out immediately. Like, yeah, sure. When's the release? Just include, I appreciate that a lot. But that's kind of on the photographer to really make sure that we get included.
Yeah.
So maybe this conversation is a little bit geared towards photographers, but in most cases, the photographers just don't. Why would they care? Why would they care that the videographer is there or not? This photographer cared because she liked me a lot and she didn't want us to get screwed. That's great. I appreciate that a lot. Very nice of them. They don't have to do that, but are we really that far at the mercy of a photographer really, really liking us, or just it's more trouble than it's worth to even include them, so I'm not going to include them.
I think
that sucks.
I've had a lot of people who I wanted to do things with, and they were like, oh, I don't want to ask you to do that though. And I think that might be a thing that filmmakers are like, I don't have time for that, or they just don't do it.
Right. I mean, frankly, if she had said, hey, or if Style Me Pretty had been like, hey, this is the way we do content for videographers. Can you do this? I would have been like, absolutely. I'll get it to you by the end of the week. It's not being published until June of this year. So absolutely I have time. I'll get you something. What do you need? What do you guys want to see from video? Do you want individual clips?
Yeah, what are we doing here?
I'm organized enough to where I can do that. I don't know if most videographers would have the time or patience for that.
No, and I think it's so many videographers aren't really that interested in other people succeeding too. And I think...
Well, you just see it the way they approach the wedding day.
Yeah, you really if you want to be anything in this industry, then we want things to get better for us. Mm-hmm. We have to be viewed as better partners. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, this is my prediction. If we will do the right thing at a loss, sacrificially, we put in the work. No one has done that. Nobody has paved the way. So we're going to have to pave the way. Eventually, demand will increase. And then price will increase. Mm-hmm. Then eventually we can get to the point where actually we can say to people, we charge more than photography because we do more work. But until we get more demand, we cannot do that. And so it doesn't matter what the reason is and what you have to do to get there. If you are a person that's thinking, I want to go level up my career, you're going to have to just play this game.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And you might as well just get happy with it.
Get happy with it. It's honestly, to me, the fun part.
I like it.
Because it's great that the couple gets to see the wedding film and have a forever memory. It's fun when you get to include your whole friend group of wedding partners and say, let's push this. And how fun is it, Jay, when we post a video to Instagram that gets a ton of traction?
Yeah, I love it.
And it goes viral and everyone's like, yes, this is great. We crushed it. not only is it showing off our best work, but it's being rewarded and we're making money all together. Like that's a win-win across the board. That's like a really exciting time to be a wedding filmmaker is when your work is pushing someone else up and they're like excited to book you again.
Well, even that, like,
That is the top of the mountain, man.
if I make something for Kristen Kokorian and she's like, it helps her. Like, it's not just like I'm making money, even though I like making money. I like this person. I want her to do well. And if she does well, like if you're a good person, you want your friends and partners to do well.
Mhm.
And it's like, so it's not just like, this is why I know people are like obsessed with their couples. I'm like, clearly the couple comes first.
Yeah.
Like you can't make content. This is a dichotomy that is a false dichotomy.
Yeah.
People say this, I'm just going to focus on my couples. This is not the point of what I'm doing. I'm just going to focus on the couples and not, I don't care what these people want. We have to make all this content for the internet. It's bull crap. And I'm always like, is it though? I don't think it is. It's incentive structures. It's like, what is the incentive for a blog to feature a film just because your couple liked it?
Mhm.
Do you want it or not?
Yep.
Like, if I want to grease the skids, so to speak, and make it easier for me to book weddings and make it easier for everyone to book weddings and charge a higher price by getting my name out there more, like, I need it to not just appeal to my couple, I need it to appeal to everyone. And you're not some sellout or some like, it doesn't hurt your couples. Like, you can walk and chew gum here. I think this is a false dichotomy. And I think more people need to just be willing to do it, but also understand. And I think this is where we want to kind of go with this finally is like, think like an editor, think like a blog owner or a person with a large wedding social media account or a wedding planner, whoever you're trying to partner with to get wedding content that you're making out there. What do they actually need to succeed? What is their incentive structure?
You mentioned it before. I mean, a lot of times they'll sit around and be like, this is what I remember last year. Bows are a big trend. Black bows, burgundy bows.
I thought you were in BOSE, like the sound company.
No.
Bose speakers was a big trending.
Like bows, like
yeah,
a bow in your hair, a bow in your dress.
I remember
that was a big
trend.
thing. I mean, I think that was one of those things where, how do you describe it? You're kind of pushing tilting the scales a little bit.
Putting your thumb on the scales.
On the scales.
What if everyone wore bows this year?
Yeah, that's one of those things that's kind of like a little bit made up, but whatever. Like, whenever we saw bows, we would film them because I was like, we want to be providing content that these magazines want. It didn't work out in any way, but I think thinking like a content creator, thinking about what people are interested in is always a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think about that a lot of times when I'm shooting now. We talked about it before, like wedding porn. We got to come up with a better term for that, by the way.
No,
the
details. Reason I call it that is like it serves no purpose but just
Pinterest.
personal gratification.
Pinterest stuff, like, and by the way, I was gonna say this too. When you shoot good content, that is good standalone, maybe single shots with no music, just audio.
Yep,
it's actually good Pinterest stuff too, and Pinterest is making a comeback too. So
I think just like to make it simple for people, content that stands on its own, that doesn't have a lot of cuts, that is easy to make, that lets people just set some mood, is very valuable. And I think you have a lot of this already. It's not a violation of yourself to do this stuff.
Yep, totally agree. I think for us, obviously, there's a lot of things that we're talking about wedding filmmakers can do, think like an editor. The other thing, guys, is like...
By editor, by the way, I mean magazine editor.
Magazine editor, yeah. Think like a magazine editor. We have to ask them more.
Yes.
What they're looking for.
This is like the biggest...
And you said at the very beginning, they might ignore your email. True. But also, doesn't matter. Keep asking.
Yes.
Keep knocking down the door. There's a lot of PR agencies now.
You have not because you ask not.
Yes.
And like The amount of things in life, people are always like, Jay, I had a filmmaker recently, very successful one, read me out and say, you don't have any idea how to talk to people. You're a jerk. Why are you successful? I have no idea why anyone works with you. This person never worked with me, by the way, so screw that person. But if you're listening to this, screw you. But the reason why people work with me is because I ask them. I say, how can I help you? I have a great idea for you. The biggest thing about me is boldness. I will walk up to someone in a networking event, say, I saw that wedding you did. It was amazing. You should hire me. I can help you. Like I'll send a magazine some content. I'll say, oh, I have this great idea. Like, it doesn't always work.
Yeah.
but the amount of people who are just literally just like they're making things and then they're just like going into a cave and then they're like, no one wants to come to my cave. And you're like, dude, you got to like put yourself out there from time to time and like be willing to take a few risks.
It is intimidating sometimes, man. Like,
yeah, suck it up.
We did that event this summer with the Frida event. Brian Raffinelli's there. I'm like, what do I even say to Brian Raffinelli? Good job event planning, or I saw this one thing, like that was really cool. And then he's gonna be like, cool.
Nice.
Like, yeah. It's intimidating, but like,
who are you? You live in my market. I have never hired you.
I've never even heard of you.
That's great for us.
But also funny because they have hired us, but we're working with them this summer, but he probably doesn't know that they've hired us.
But it's like you just can't worry about that stuff though. It's like you're not responsible for what other people think. You're only responsible for what you do.
Right.
And like if you give people opportunities, you're gonna have some people who are like, why is this person getting in the middle? Like, why are they? Who are they to suggest that I should talk to them? I'm sure that person exists.
Yeah.
But who knows? Like, there's probably people out there who, if you said, hey, I saw you're doing the photographer told me you're doing a blog on this wedding we did in this beautiful place. I have a bunch of really beautiful footage. Here it is in this email. You're welcome to use it, vertical or horizontal. And also, here's the full film, right? It's like, who knows? Maybe that won't work. Maybe it won't work. But like, we're the ones who have to like actually start offering. If every person offered that to every blog and publication every time, they would start putting it in every blog. Yeah,
I think so too. I think not right away.
No,
it would take some time.
It would take some time.
But and I don't think it will happen.
All it would take is one publisher to publish blogs with that kind of content in it that does better than other people. And once the market says we prefer blogs like this, we prefer a post like this.
There's also something when someone sees something new, it stands out.
Yes.
Like on a publication like that. Like I remember when we started doing story edits. We were the first people that I saw. I don't know if we were the first person ever to do like vertical video, 3 videos across with like little white bars. We were like, oh, we'll show off the venue and drone shot, one shot, and something locally at least. We were doing that, and I don't feel like I saw that and it was like, let's do this. We just looked at it and we're like, this is the best way to do it. We did it. We saw a lot of success with it because it was on social media. It was new, it was different. A lot of people gravitated towards it immediately. Like within 6 months, everyone's doing it. And it kind of waters it down. But things that are good ideas, guys, are good ideas, and they, bring traction. So let's be a little creative.
I mean, you want trends.
I don't have all the answers, but
you want trends and
make an effort.
Yes, I mean, I think that's if there's one message, it's you need to understand how the industry works. You need to understand the incentive structures, which is they need eyes and they need for ad placement.
Yeah,
and so if you're not getting them eyes, if like by using you, they're not increasing their reach. Why would they use you? Like they don't owe you. Like, but we're part of weddings. It's like they don't care.
Yeah,
they only care about what helps them. Same as you. So if you want to play their game, you have to figure out how to help them. And that being said, it's not going to happen magically. You have to make it happen. And so if there's one thing we can get across to you guys, if you're listening to this as a wedding filmmaker, is you're responsible to figure this out. Like even this podcast, everything we said could be total crap. We don't know what we're talking about. We're some of this is pure theory, which is kind of what this show often is. It's just us theorizing things and then whatever. A little educated guesses, but at the end of the day, we're not 100% sure. But if you want this, you have to go out and get it.
Mhm.
And I think we need just way more assertive and hungry wedding filmmakers who are willing to actually put themselves out there.
I'll turn my attention to the editors of these magazines too. Just tell us what you want.
Yes.
Like, there are people out there. It's not all wedding videographers. We mentioned, those people that are going to scoff at you and say, why do I have to do more work or whatever? But there are people like us that are like partners. Like, I really see myself as a partner to all the planners. I don't see how it would be any different for wedding, blogs, magazines, whatever, to say, hey, this is really trendy and cool. We like this content. Can you give me that type of content?
Yep.
I would change the way that I shoot weddings.
Me too.
To accommodate that kind of stuff. We are on site. We are there. And we are in these magical places.
Yeah, if you're a
every
publisher
single
listening
weekend.
to this, like, tell us what you want.
Yeah.
Tell us what would help you. Like, and be aggressive. Give us an opportunity to blow your mind. Like, if you tell me, get it to me, I need it by Tuesday, try me. Like, and then those of us that can do it will get rightfully more opportunities, and those that can't rightfully will get less. And I think that's fine. Like, that's a fair game that anyone can play. If you can't compete, then you can't compete.
Exactly. Yep. So, yep. I don't really have anything else to say about the topic, Jay.
Me either.
Anything else?
You know what it is no matter what we said,
yeah,
don't whine about it. It is what it is.
Yeah.
Do the best you can. And we can't control these people. So like the best you can do is try to put out more beauty and more good and be a better partner.
Yep.
But also,
and maybe it starts with social media. Maybe that's where it starts, is like we're proving it through doing some unique and different things that magazines see as magazine worthy.
Maybe it's trickle up.
Yep.
Maybe it's trickle up. Maybe if we were better partners.
Well, don't you feel like social media is kind of leading the charge at this point?
I do. And I think one unspoken thing we haven't said in this episode is like, we're talking about kind of almost an outdated model.
Right.
That is still pretty like weighed heavy, but in the reality, it's not where most of the action is. And I think the market hasn't really caught up to that. And so I think at the end of the day, like, what is next, we don't know. And that's really what I want to change. I want wedding filmmakers to not fall asleep at the wheel. Like, act like the photographers do, where you try to get on the tip of every single trend and you try to lead the charge. I think that would be nice for a change. If wedding filmmakers would take matters into their own hands, man or woman up, and actually start pushing what we do aggressively in the industry and giving people an opportunity to see that we're pretty awesome and what we do is awesome and super valuable. Because I honestly think most people just don't know about it.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I think that's really the number one thing. Most editorial people don't even know anything about wedding films.
Yep. I can totally agree. So cool, guys. Well, hey, thank you guys for listening to another episode of the Wedding Film School Show. We hope it's been valuable to you, listening to Jay and I rant and ramble for an hour or so. If you have questions that you want to have read on the show and answered by Jason and myself, go to weddingfilm.school/AMA. That's our Ask Me Anything form.
Yes.
We do podcasts every once in a while where we just do AMAs. And that would be helpful and valuable to us. I'd like to do at least 12 of those this year, so once a month. Because I really like them.
40 questions.
Yeah, I would say 40 to 50 questions would be great. So go on there. Ask if there are topics that you want to hear us talk about. Go on to our rather large Facebook group, Wedding Film School, as well as our YouTube channel, Wedding Film School, or The Wedding Film School Show. We have 2 different YouTube channels. Instagram, The Wedding Film School Show. And we will see you next time here on The Wedding Film School Show.